Welcome to the Avert Your Eyes Podcast, where we talk with some of the most creative people within North Texas and beyond. I'm your host, Michael Gibson Jr. We now have podcast merch available for sale with designs including the Avert Your Eyes ladies tee, branded shirts, pillow, and more. Go to www.avertyoureyespod.com and help out the podcast by getting yours today. This episode's guest is fashion blogger turned designer Vanessa Posner. Her company, Vendals, is a reflection of her background, with her roots coming from Venezuela and the setting down new roots deep in the heart of Texas. Her brand features clothing that are designed and manufactured right here in Dallas, Texas. We discuss the creation of her company, Vendals, the power of knowledge, the importance of giving back, and so much more on episode number 26 of the Avert Your Eyes Podcast. Consider yourself warned. I'm excited for you. I understand that you were originally from Venezuela.
Yes.
How long did you live there?
18 years.
18 years. Wow. So you definitely formative years.
Well, yeah, 18 years, give or take.
And so at 18, you came to the States.
I moved to the States probably 3 months. So the thing is, I graduated when I was 17.
Okay.
But then I moved right away. But when I moved, at the beginning, I wasn't accepted at the school that I was going to.
Which was?
The Art Institute. I ended up going there anyways. Okay. I'm very perseverant.
And what was it like for you studying there at the Art Institute once you got in?
I really liked it. I loved it. I think it's the perfect school for someone who's not a study person.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Just because it's very hands-on.
Okay.
Like, I don't mind staying up 7 days, painting something, gluing something, sewing something, creating I don't mind that. But give me a test and I will not do good. Even though I study.
So, you don't think you were a very good student in grade school?
Well, I was a good student. I was just not a great student. I was average. But being an average was hard because I'm really, and when I say really bad, I really mean it. I am horrible at math.
Well, what was your favorite?
Subject? History? Probably. Yeah, history, Spanish, like reading, writing kind of stuff. But no physics, no math, no chemics, no biology, none of it.
Well, I was born in Jamaica, but I came to the States when I was about a year and a half old. Grew up here in Texas, and I loved math, but I personally I went to film school, but I minored in English. I love language. I love
that's awesome.
Of it myself. So, and I was also not a great student. I was a decent student.
Yeah, I was a decent student. I never failed a class, but I
can't say the same.
But I was never like, oh my God, you're such a great student. But it was okay. I guess back then I was really self-conscious of, I need to have better grades, or I need to be better at this or at that. And then I think when I moved here, I was like, you know what? I know I'm not good at this. Plus I'm dyslexic.
Oh, you are?
I am dyslexic, but big time. When I'm driving, if I have to tell people directions, 9 out of 10 times, if not 11, I will make you get lost.
What are the sort of things that you've had to do through the years to try to overcome the dyslexia?
Well, pretty much as soon as my mom noticed that I couldn't say left or right, or this is the watch hand, or this is not the watch hand, or stuff like that, she put me right away in therapy and stuff. So I think that was really big. And I'm saying the math thing, and I had math classes every single day after school. And obviously numbers were like, oh, that's a 9. No, that's a 6. Or very little stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is like actually like understanding. I have this. I have a problem, and it doesn't make me any less than anybody.
Right.
But I do have to fight it. Like, I don't know, right now, every time I send an email, if I have someone next to me, I'm like, can you please read it? And just make sure that what I'm reading is what I'm sending. Right. Or even though sometimes I don't have someone, I will like sit and be like, okay, read it as many times as you can. Plus, I get very easily distracted. Some people would say I have ADHD. Some people will say I don't, but I do get very easily distracted. So I think when I moved here, I was like, because I liked what I was studying, which is completely different from high school or school, you go to school and you learn what everybody's learning. Right. And in story and in history and in writing and all that stuff, I got it really quickly and I would get bored. So I got what they were saying and then I was gone. And then I would come back when I would hear something but I think that was the biggest thing, like knowing that I cannot not see it in the first row. Like if you want my full attention, you gotta have me right here.
Yeah. Now, what was it like for you growing up in Venezuela?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a very, 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 very different culture. People is completely different. And I'm not saying it's better. I'm not. I'm just saying it's completely different.
Yes.
The way you go about your day, it's completely different than here. You don't have a schedule. You pretty much can do anything you want. Plus, even though I was from Venezuela and I lived in Venezuela, none of my parents are Venezuelan. They were born in Venezuela, but they're not really flesh and blood Venezuelan.
Where are they from?
So, my mom's side, her dad is Palestinian, and her mom is Hispanic. And on my dad's side, her dad is German from Breslau, Poland.
Okay.
And my grandma, she was born, and don't quote me on this one because I'm not even sure if she was actually born in Venezuela, okay. But she didn't grow up in Venezuela. Okay. She grew up in Spain. My grandma became...
Citizen?
No. When you don't have any parents?
Oh, an orphan.
Orphan, like when she was probably 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
And then she was sent off to Spain to a boarding school or like a non-school, and she lived there for probably her whole adulthood, and then she went back to Venezuela, 20 years, something like that. And then after that, she moved to Virginia, and she went to school there. And then for 3 months, because the day after leaving, she met my grandfather, car to car, in traffic. And she went back and they got married, and that was pretty much it. So all of my family, it's all around. Awesome. So because of that, my Venezuela experience was completely different because my parents weren't really Venezuelan, like native Venezuelan. So it was pretty awesome.
What were some of your favorite experiences growing up?
So my mom was originally engineer, and my dad, and she worked for IBM. She was a executive for IBM for 10 years. And my dad was a salesman for Mattel.
Okay.
The toy company. And one day they were like, you know what? We hate what we're doing. And they decided to start a catering business. And they probably started that business when I was around 5 years old. And by the time I was 15, it was not only a catering business, but it was also, they had 3 restaurants, a supermarket, and probably all of my best memories from Venezuela are connected to that. I mean, growing up in the kitchen and cooking and trying food and drinking wine, because I have drank wine since I'm 13 years old.
Because it's a different culture. And plus, my grandma was Spanish, so the culture was that as soon as you can tell whether this is good or bad, like yucky or not yucky, you start trying everything. So we'd have dinner and I would drink wine and it would be normal in my house. Now, so it sounds like being entrepreneurs is in the blood of the family.
Yeah, also my grandma was also a designer.
So that's
in Venezuela. And she was an entrepreneur and she probably, and I always fight with her about this, and if she would have not stopped doing it, she would have become something like Carolina Herrera.
Who's that?
A really big designer from Venezuela.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like on the same range as probably, I don't know. I don't want to say Chanel because Chanel is really old, but I don't know. But it's big.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize. I'm not.
No. It's all good.
Myself. So, and then that grandmother, which grandmother was it on which side?
My mom's mom. Yeah.
Okay. And so why don't you talk about how you ended up starting your company?
Yes, that's the best story. Like I was telling you, I went to school to the Art Institute. However, I did not graduate. I didn't graduate because the year before my senior, the trimester before my last trimester, a friend of mine had mentioned that she had applied for a bunch of internships and she had not gotten anything, but she encouraged me and she was like, go ahead, do it. You live in the United States, so they might give you an opportunity. And have in mind, I applied to about 100 places, probably. And nobody had called me back. And so I had said, and honestly, I wasn't expecting them to call me back. I was just doing it just to say I did it. And nothing happened, kind of like, yeah. I did it, nothing happened, but I did do it. I was kind of done with it and I said, you know what, I saw like 2 places I wanted to apply and I said, I'll just send an application. And when I'm telling you very simple, like very, very casual, I was sitting in a restaurant and I typed in like a cover letter and email and I was like, okay, I mean, they're not going to call me, but I did it. And they did. Both places. Both places called me and my mom was like, the fact that they call you for an interview is not that they're going to give you the job. Like, you have to be in mind. One of the places was with Hearst Corporation, which is the owner of Women's Day magazine. Okay. And a bunch of other media outlets. You probably know this. And then the other interview was with a startup company that had an online store in New York. So I went and had the 2 interviews. Long story short, I got the job for the magazine and I moved to New York. While I moved there, it was probably one of the most life-changing experiences. Like, I think I always tell this to people. I got in the plane as one person, and when I came back on the plane, I was someone completely different. I had the opportunity to make a friendship with the person that was my boss, who we still talk, and I kind of see her as my mentor. And for those 5-6 months that I worked for her, every single day, she told me, do your own thing. Create your business. Do whatever you want to do. Plus, my dad had always told me, like, you can have a job, but at the end of the day, you do know that you have to do your own thing. Because this is the culture that I've been raised on. So that happened. I came back to Dallas. Right out of coming back from New York, I got a job, working for Fab Dallas magazine as their fashion editor.
Nice.
And I worked for them for about 6 to 9 months. And after that, I got a job for Zara. So when I got the job for Zara, or Inditex, it was an amazing company. It was a great job. But before taking the job, my dad had kind of told me, and he was like, this is a great job. This is a great opportunity. But this is not the future. This is something that you need to learn from, but you cannot get stuck there. And that was kind of something that my dad was really scared of me going into this big corporation and then just getting sink in there.
Right.
And so I had been working for them for about a year. And this was 2016 September.
Okay.
And my dad came to visit. And he kind of set me down and was like, so it's been a year. What's happening next? And I was like, Dad, I really like this job. I am learning so much. And have in mind that for a 20-year-old, I was making pretty good money. So I was like, I'm comfortable. I'm good. And he was like, no, I get that, but you have to move on. So we were having that conversation, and he kind of said, okay, let's say that I have investment money. How much money would you need to open up or to do whatever it is that you want to do? And I was like, I think I said to my dad, I need $200,000. And he was like, no, you need to come back from your cloud and think of something that is actually doable, because you're not going to find a loan for $200,000. Nobody's going to give you $200,000. And then how much are you doing with this $200,000 that you're thinking that you need?
Right.
And kind of when we had that conversation, I honestly wasn't thinking I wanted to have a business or do a company or whatever. Oh, something I forgot. When I moved back from New York, I opened up my own blog.
Okay.
And with the magazine, I kind of had the opportunity of starting to meet people from the industry and getting myself involved in what the Dallas fashion scene is, which is completely different from what I had seen in New York.
Could you point out like some of the differences?
I don't really want to get into that.
Being announced.
Yes,
okay.
But some of the things is that fashion in New York, it's actually a business. It's a form of income. People, like many people, is employed by this industry, and it's taken very seriously. Here, because it's such a baby industry, it's not taken as seriously as it is. A lot of the people that is doing it is starting out and fighting these big corporations that are selling clothes or have magazines, but there's not really the capital or the money or the anything to fight to them. Or it wasn't like that when I first moved here. I think right now it's completely different. In the past 4 years, it's grown so much. But anyways, and when I had the conversation with my dad, it wasn't really like, oh yes, I want to do it. I am going to make a business plan and I am going to do it. Not really. But it did kind of like put a seed on me. And I started thinking, and I think it was probably like a week after that. And I sat down and like, have in mind all of my conversations happen in the kitchen. Like I said before. I sat down and I was like, Mom, I think I'm going to do it. I don't have the money, obviously, so I'll get a loan, or I don't know, I'll find a way. And then my mom was like, why not? Do it. You are working, so you can get a loan, and I know, like, you're a hard worker, so yes, go for it. And so that same day, I went and had dinner with my boyfriend, and I kind of mentioned it to him, and I was like, and I want to do this, and I was like, but the problem is that if I do it, I really want to make sure that I do it correctly, and because it's going to be my name out there. And he was like, I'll give you the money. And I was like, no, I know how this ends. And he was like, I will give you the money. And I was like, absolutely not. You're not going to give me the money. So fast forward, probably a week and a half ago, he sat me down and he said, if you're still wanting to do this, I'm serious. I've been working for so long. I have a lot of savings. And honestly, I've always wanted to have my own business. I will give you the money. And I was like, okay, first of all, you are not going to give me the money. If you really want to do this, you can be my business partner. But I'm not going to take a loan from you because I don't know if I can pay you back. Right. Like, if you do this, you have to be doing this, making sure that you understand that you might lose the money. And I'm throughout this conversation, you're going to see I have no filter. So, he was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, but if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. Like, I'm not going to cut down in anything. I want the best of the best because, like I said, it's my name. Right. Not yours, not his, not nobody's. It's my name. And I think that's a really big thing in this industry. It's so small, yet so big, but every single person knows each other. So if you do something that is not the best that you can do, that'll go back to you and say, well, yeah, but when you worked on this project, why did you do this, and that? Right. So, we started working on it and, very basically like starting the company and this and that. But by December 2016, I got sick. Like, really sick. And I was in bed for about 6 months.
What happened?
My back, I had back surgery.
Oh, wow.
Back when I was 16 years old for the first time. I had a really, really stressful weeks in a lot of work and a lot of late nights and all of this, and my body kind of just gave up completely. And what started as something that wasn't supposed to be a big deal became a huge deal because I couldn't walk, because I couldn't drive, because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. And it was back then, I think it was January, when I said, okay, I really need to do this because I might be better next week, but if I'm not, and this is a lifelong, situation, I need to be able to make money and I need to be able to pay for my expenses and do all of this. And nobody's going to employ someone who's sick forever. So I started kind of sketching, and what I'm telling you this, I am literally in bed, while having between 6 and 5 procedures.
Wow.
So I started designing and I started having meetings with the people that does their patterns and, all of this. And by probably May, I finally started little by little driving here and there and, doing so much, a lot more. And by June, our first series was already finished and done, and I was kind of already back in my feed. And August 12th, 2017, we launched officially the brand. We had the opportunity that because I had met many people, and I'm someone that if I'm sitting at a cafe or a bar or in the restroom, I will talk to the person that's next to me. Not only because I cannot not talk, but because my dad taught me since I was very, very little that connections is everything. It's not what you know, it's who you know 100%. So because of that, the owner of a company, and he's not only the owner of a company, I consider him my friend. He lended me the space where Mark Cuban launched broadcast.com for the launch of our event, which was amazing. So we had the launch, we had the opportunity, the PR people that we were working with got us in Good Morning Texas, and it was really, really awesome. And honestly, the way that I wanted to do it and why I worked so hard on it, because it's not only designing, it's I'm not only the designer, I'm the boss boy, I'm the cutter, I'm the mean person, I'm the ones that every single person fights with, and everything in between. So kind of seeing it come into life and seeing that 60 people came just to see whatever I draw and sew and all of that stuff was awesome. So that was the start of it.
What's the significance about the name of the company?
So obviously Vendals, it comes from me growing up in Venezuela, moving back here to the United States in Dallas, starting all over again, in a different culture, in a different setting, not knowing anybody, literally starting from zero, but also because my boyfriend, who's also my business partner, is from Dallas. So I really wanted to make sure that whatever we were doing had our essence, and that's our essence. I'm foreign and he's not, and I have a huge accent, which I cannot hide. And this is funny because people will see me, and a lot of people says this, like, if I see you, you look American, but the moment you talk, it's like, absolutely not. Like, where are you from? So, again, making sure that it resembles our essence was really big, which was also the reason why we decided to not only design everything, but produce and manufacture here in Dallas, Texas. None of the things that we use are made in China or anywhere else that is not Texas.
How?
But let me finish there. Let me finish there, because there is also the Venezuela part and how we tie in that Venezuela. Doing the production here was kind of our way to giving back to Dallas community. 30 years ago, the manufacturing business here in Dallas was huge, and then China came, and that stopped. Yeah. And producing here was kind of our way to not only help those production companies, but to show other people, you can do it here. There's ways to do it here. And kind of leaving the money in your hometown, like taxes, all of that stuff. Not only that, but then, we have a partnership with the biggest, private university in Venezuela, which is the Metropolitan University in Venezuela. It's in the capital, Caracas. And we have a partnership with them that from all of our profits, 10% of it goes back to help women, men, adults' children to go to college.
It's beautiful.
Which is, when we started, I knew I wanted to help Venezuela in some way. I knew I didn't want it to be political in any way. And that was kind of like, okay, if I'm going to help, it's going to be through giving someone knowledge, which is everything.
It really is.
So.
Yeah, that's very beautiful.
Thank you.
That your company does that. How do you define fashion?
Wow. I don't know. I don't know. For me, maybe it's because I really love fashion. I think it's a lifestyle. I mean, it's not getting up and putting on whatever. It's why you wear what you wear shows so many colors of your personality that sometimes you don't even understand. So I think it's fashion. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of cultural. It's what you do and who you are and the people you're with, but it's also very personal and it speaks volumes of who you are as a person. I think I love wearing heels and flats, but I also love everything in between. I mean, I think a lot of people has the misconception of thinking that fashion is this thing that it's only very few people have it and it's very precious and only fashionable people dress in Chanel. And I don't see it that way. I mean, I think and I think you can see in the people that really lives in fashion and gives value to dressing, they wear and they use from Chanel to Walmart. Because I do. Because it's not, and probably this is horrible that I say that, but it's not only about buying a name brand or I am wearing this or I am wearing that. It's about understanding that you can find beautiful pieces everywhere. And you can find them in a high-end store, and you can find them in a consignment store, or you can make them yourself. And it's always gonna go back to showing who you are and all of that stuff.
Well, let me back up first before I ask that question. And I hope this doesn't come off as being sexist. You brought up shoes. How many pairs of shoes do you own?
If I have to ballpark it, I would say maybe 30 at least.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I know with my line of work, I have my dress shoes and my comfortable shoes and stuff. So I think I probably have like 5, including a pair of cowboy boots.
By the way, that doesn't come as sexist.
Okay.
I'm proud to say that I own 30 pairs of shoes. Like, really? Yeah, I mean, I really love clothing. It's a curse. It's also a blessing. A curse for my bank account, but I don't know. I love seeing clothes.
Yeah.
Like, I joke with my friends because sometimes they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm visiting my clothes." Like, I'm literally sitting there and like watching it.
Seeing how it all might come together.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm a very big night owl, so sometimes if I cannot sleep, I will wake up and put outfits together and have an idea, try it, or go online and shop, and that's not the best idea ever. Never that's the best idea. But yeah.
My next question is going to be, what is your favorite accessory for an outfit?
Shoes. I love bags. I really do. But I think if there's something that I'm very skeptical about, it's about bags. Okay. That is the one thing that I like to put my money on. Like, if I'm going to spend money, on something expensive, it's most likely going to be a bag. Okay. Just because you throw them, you put so many things in there. And honestly, I probably haven't bought a bag in the last 5 years just because it's an investment. I've probably had this bag for 7 years and it's good.
How would you describe your own personal style?
I would say chic, but very classic. Sometimes effortless, sometimes over the top, depending on how I feel. But yeah, I think comfy, on the go. I love pieces that I can buy and I can say, I'm in a hurry, I will wear this and I know I'll be good. I think it's a big mix between United States and Venezuela. Fashion in Venezuela and here are two things completely different.
How so?
Well, first of all, Venezuela is a tropical country.
Right.
We have 80-something to 90s weather all year round. Because of that, we have only one season. However, that does not entail that we do not wear boots or coats. We do. Like, if one day it's 75, it's pretty cold. So that's the day that you get out there. But also it's the tropics. I mean, everything is really colorful and adorned and bedazzled and I hate saying that word, but it is. It is. Everything has details and colors and patterns and beats and all of them at the same time. Also, Venezuela, it's a really, really, really big country on women's self-care. I probably couldn't name one woman from Venezuela that does not go to the salon at least once a week or that makes sure to be healthy and look healthy and goes to the spa and cares about whatever they're portraying in what they're wearing. And it's all about not being comfortable, but being pretty. In the other hand, Dallas is a very classical, the Dallas woman has a very classical style. It's a pair of denim with a loafers, button-down shirts, blow-dry hair, very smooth, nothing crazy. And I think probably in my style, that's what sets me apart because for me as a Venezuelan person, I am not the typical Venezuelan person the way I dress because again, my family, it's very broad. But then my style, it's very classical, but yes, I love wearing the shoes with the fur and the big, bold jackets and big, bold lipstick and headbands and all of those things incorporate, mixed in with all the classical pieces that I love to wear. White button-downs, denim, dresses, the loafers. I do like the loafers. I love the loafers. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that mix of saying, okay, I'm going to wear a pair of denim with a white button-down shirt, and I'm going to just go ahead and put just this crazy weird boots or shoes or sandals, or I'm going to wear socks with sandals. And a lot of people will see me like, who are you and what are you doing here? But a lot of people will be like, oh my God, I love that. Like, how did you came up with that? And I'm like, I don't know. I saw it in a magazine or I just played with it and I liked it.
If ever there was the ability to go back in time and play with fashion from another time period, what time period would it be for you?
I hate the concept of going back in time. I really do. I wouldn't go back in time. I like this. I like the 2000s. I mean, I think right now we have a really awesome mix of the 70s, the 90s, the 80s, the 50s. And I think right now, because all of those eras are having a comeback, we, as the people that likes fashion or not, have the ability to play with all of them. So, I think this is the perfect time for me. I like wearing tweeted jackets with denim. I mean, back then people would have been like, a woman wearing denim? No. You know, and I think that's one of the things that I like the most about fashion. The idea that I can play with everything. And there's no rules. Really. It's pretty much what you like and what you feel comfortable in. And if you like it and you feel comfortable in, by all means, wear it. If you're happy with it, wear it.
Is there a particular piece of fashion that you feel like should be done away with?
Leggings. Even though I like them and I wear them, they should be gone.
Why is that?
They're very dangerous.
How so?
I don't know. I think, and I'm gonna come back to the like, what's fashion, question, because fashion is not what people is wearing. Fashion is what looks good on you.
Okay.
And flexi pants are such a huge weapon. I mean, I love them. They're so comfortable. Or sweatpants. Those two. I love them, but I also hate them. But there's a time and place for everything. And you can wear flexi pants or sweatpants on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon while you're running errands, but you cannot go to work by all means with sweatpants or like flexi pants. So, and I think because they are so comfortable, and we now have that trend of athleisure and be comfortable by all means. And I'm not saying do not be comfortable, but there's a time and place for everything. That's like saying that I'm going to wear hot pants to go to work, or even though I don't work for anybody, I'm going to use sweatpants to go to my sewing room, or flip-flops. Actually, no, I hate flip-flops. That would probably be the item that I hate the most. I don't own a flip-flop, and I will never own a flip-flop. I hate them.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
Yes, flip-flops. I do like sandals, but not flip-flops.
What would you say is one of the pitfalls that you see people make when it comes to designing?
I think it's not realizing that at the end of the day, you're not designing for yourself. You're designing for a customer or for people to buy the clothes. And I say this because it's happened to me. I love everything out there, but sometimes I have to kind of look back and say, okay, wait a second. Would my mom wear this? Would my partner's mom wear this? Would my friends wear this? Would this person wear this? Or is this... I guess the biggest fall is it seeing it as a piece of art and not as a business. And that happens to me every single day. I love designing. I love fashion. I love everything that has to do with it. But the biggest problem is that sometimes, because we are the artists and we are the one creating, we don't realize at the end of the day, if we want this to be our business and our life, you have to see it as a business and not as a leisure or art or pastime, even though You have fun when you do it, even though you love what you're doing, even though it is art, by all means. And that's kind of why in the back of my head, I always knew I needed someone that had that business aspect that could tell me, okay, wait a second. Come back to the world and let's talk. Or, again, because sometimes we don't see it as a business and just go with our heart. You say, oh, that's the piece of fabric that I want, but then you see the tag and it's a $100 yard fabric, and that business person is going to tell you, if you're buying $100 yard, that means that a garment's going to cost you $1,000 wholesale, which means that to sell it is going to be $2,000. Do you have that client? Do you have someone you can sell it to? Is it something that can be produced? Is it something that cannot be produced? Is it wearable? Is it timeless? Like, so many, like I said, it's so much more than just saying, oh, I'm going to do a shirt. It's everything that goes behind making that shirt or the pant or the dress, to see it from the standpoint of the business person. And I think that's the biggest fall. Not me, but we all have. That because we love it so much, and we have to, because if...
Well, it sounded like a cat.
It was a cat. Because you have to love it if you do it, because it's tough. Because it's time consuming. Because when you're doing it, you're so close to the way you feel and to what's happening in your life, that if someone comes back and says, oh, I don't like that, that'll be like a punch directly to your heart. And you kind of have to make sure you separate yourself from that. And you say, this is the business, and I'm open to every single critic that people wants to give me, because I want to make it a business. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes absolutely perfect sense. How do you define happiness, and what things bring you the greatest joy?
Do what you love, and you'll be happy. That's it.
It's that simple.
It's simple.
How do you define success?
It's probably next to happiness. I mean, I think for a lot of people, being successful is making many, many zeros after that one number, or being famous, or having a big, big house, or a nice car. And yes, all of those things are nice. But I think how happy or how successful can you feel doing something that you're not passionate about? I think success is making sure people recognize what you're doing above whether you are making bank or you're not. And like I said, making money is amazing. It's awesome. We all love it, but that's not success nor happiness.
And then, what would you tell somebody wanting to get into designing and owning their own business?
I think, again, you have to love it. You have to make sure that this is what you love. And not only in design or in any field. I mean, in video production, cooking, technology, anything. I mean, if you really want to be successful and get to the point where you're making as much money as you want, where you're happy, where you do what you love, all of those things, you need to make sure that you're doing something not because, oh my God, I have this great idea, because there's 30 million people in this country that has great ideas. But it's making sure that you're doing it because you love what you're doing, and if you happen to become wealthy and help people and get to all of these places, well, that's a bonus.
Awesome. And then lastly, what would you tell your younger self?
don't listen to people. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yes, listen to people, but make sure that you can discern on which people's telling you something because they love you and they want you to be successful and great, and it comes from a place of love, and I want you to get there, and which people is coming from a harmful, mean place. I probably will say myself, choose your battles. Don't fight for everything. I'm a very big fighter. Just because I'm a very strong, believer. I believe in what I believe, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but you ain't right. So, yeah. I don't know. Do party a lot while you can. And I did it, so I'm so happy I did. Because I kind of burned that thing in me where I wanted to party every single day. And I'm 24 and I'm I'll party one day, but not every day.
Is there anything else that you want to say?
I don't know. I think we've covered a pretty big chunk of stuff.
Vanessa, thank you so much for your time and sitting
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's the podcast. Thank you again to Vanessa Posner for sitting down with me and sharing her story. You can check out the website for Vendals at www.vendals.com, and that's VENDALS.com. You can also follow Vendals on social media at _Vendals on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also follow Vanessa Posner's blog on Instagram by following at The Red Soul Society, and soul is SOUL. Keep up with the Avert Your Eyes podcast, or check out past episodes by visiting our website, avertyoureyespod.com. There you will find everything you need to subscribe to the podcast, with links to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget to leave a comment, review, or check out some of that new merch. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Michael Gibson Jr., and until next time on the Avert Your Eyes podcast, consider yourself warned.